My name is Cindy. I'm a family member in long-term recovery. And what that means is I have been affected by someone else's alcoholism or addiction. In my case, it is addiction. My family member happened to be a child. Growing up, I was not exposed to alcoholism or drug abuse in the house. It wasn't there. And when I got older, of course, I was exposed to it and participated and outgrew it basically. So when I had a child that started having issues, I guess you would say, I didn't recognize what was happening. My husband and I thought that it was just a phase, he'll grow out of it. Everybody goes through this. And I do believe that most people do experiment with drugs, alcohol, sex, the whole thing, but some people don't come back from it. In my case, my child he was a great kid. We were very close. And in his early teens, something started to change. And I knew it couldn't be drugs because we were the parents that were at every basketball game, every baseball game, everything. We knew his friends. We went to parent-teacher conferences. We did all the things that good parents are supposed to do. So I knew it couldn't be drugs that was changing him. It had to be some other influence. And so for a long time, we struggled. We thought it was a behavioral thing. We disciplined. We did all the things that we thought knew to do, and nothing seemed to help. The problem seemed to get worse. And I think in the back of my mind, if I'm being honest, I think I knew it, but I didn't want to admit it. So I did not know where to turn. I would not allow myself to go to the school and talk to anyone there honestly about what was happening, because I did not want my child labeled as one of those kids, because he wasn't one of those kids. And I called my doctor because I just didn't know where to go. And he said, I don't know what to tell you. You can bring him in, we can have a talk with him. But he said, I don't know what to do. So I just felt lost. So this continued on until he was out of school. I was blaming teachers and coaches and friends and everyone. It was always everybody else's fault, not his. And this went on for quite some time. And after he graduated high school, barely, because his grades started falling, he's just a different person. He and I were like oil and vinegar for quite a while. Things in our house changed a lot. There was violence and screaming and shouting. Like, that just wasn't our home, but it was for a short period of time. And went to college. That lasted about one semester, and they kicked him out basically. And when he was home, he was diagnosed with depression. So he was given some medication, and that did not help the problem. Eventually, he got in trouble with the law, and that's when we knew we had to do something different. Well, he went to rehab, and one of his counselors suggested that his dad and I go to uh, get some help for us. And I was like, okay, I'll go. I'll do whatever I need to do to fix my kid. And so we went to a 12-step program, and I expected that when I went there, they were going to tell me how to fix my child. And what they told me is how to fix me. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. I just need to fix him and we'll be good. And so I wasn't sure that the whole thing was going to work. And but I kept going, and I started to realize the things that I had done thinking I was helping him that were really hurting him. It was enabling him to do things, and it was enabling him to keep the cycle going, I guess. We there were several bouts of rehabs, and finally one day I just said, I cannot do this anymore. I can't. He needs to go. And he left our house, and we did not know where he was, what was happening, until he called one day and needed, it was, I remember it was really, really hot out that year, and he had no gas, no money, no nothing. Could we help him? And we said, oh, I'm not giving you money, but we can help you. We took him water and cereal and put gas in his car. And that day I watched my son walk over to a ashtray at a gas station and pick up somebody else's cigarette. And for whatever reason, that moment just sticks in my head, and I wanted to vomit. So anyway, he was out of our house for a while, and we had no idea where he was. One day he called and he said, I need some help. Can you give me a ride to rehab? And my husband said, yes, we can take you. My son made all the arrangements. We basically dropped him off at the door and left. And when his time was over, he wanted to come home, and I really didn't want him to come home, but he did. And he's been clean ever since, and that was 2014. So I'm feeling very lucky. One of the things that I would like to say is that when I went to that first meeting, I thought I was the only one that had this problem. I thought I was very unusual, that I had done something wrong, we had done something wrong as parents. But what I came to realize is it wasn't about us. He has an illness, one that nobody talks about, one that people don't want to talk about. But I feel kind of fortunate that, I don't want to say I feel fortunate that we went through this, but I learned a lot. I got educated in addiction. I understand. I probably don't understand, but I feel compassion for people with alcoholism and addiction rather than looking down on them, judging them. Those are the positive things I've taken away from our experience. I've also learned that there's a whole lot of people out there struggling with these same things, and they don't want to talk about it because they think it's when you hear of a drug addict, you think of somebody on the streets of New York City, homeless, and that's not always the case. There's a lot of people that are just regular people like me. Like I thought we were normal, and we are normal, I guess, sort of. But my child happens to suffer from the disease of addiction, and we're fortunate that he was able to get help, accept help, want help, and we did too. So I am sharing my story today, which is a hard thing to do, really, but I felt it was really important because I do remember back in the day, which basically I've been in recovery for 10 years now. I felt very alone and nowhere, I didn't know where to turn. But I'm sharing this today because I feel like people can learn that you are not alone. There is help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. I am part of the Recovery Alliance here, and I always feel a little out of place because I'm just a family member, but one of my friends tells me you're one of the most important voices, and I try to remember that. Help is a really hard thing to reach out for because there's a lot of shame involved when you have a loved one. It doesn't have to be a child. It can be a husband, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a parent. There's a lot of shame that comes along with that because you feel like you haven't done enough, or you did something wrong, and that's not the case. The most important thing is, really, I have stressed this so much, is to get educated. You need to understand addiction, alcoholism is a disease, and there is help for both the addict, alcoholic, and the family member, the friend. I personally found help through a 12-step program. There are other ways to get help. The important thing is you reach out to someone. And I really hope that this video will help someone to understand that you're not alone, that there is help.